On a famous journey of 20,000 leagues under the sea, the Nautilus of Captain Nemo voyaged whither he willed, even to 90 degrees north, even to the North Pole itself. But with all his science, Verne's Captain Nemo sought to escape from reality. On that day when my Nautilus plunged for the first time beneath the waves, I had done with the world. Ah, sir, live in the bosom of the waters. There only is independence. There I am free. But now, the world that he distrusted emulates Captain Nemo, and today's aquanauts are anything but escapists. Billions of cubic miles of sea, but all man's knowledge of it is but at the stage of his sketchy knowledge of the continent 2 centuries ago. Yet already Jules Verne's dreams shape into possibilities. Sometimes I hunt in the midst of this element and quarry the game that dwells in my submarine forest. My flocks, like those of Neptune's old shepherds, graze fearlessly in the immense prairies of the ocean. For the sea is the vast reservoir of nature. Death of a ship? A last dive into Davy Jones' locker? No, this is a ship designed to upend, to make a vertical tunnel down which men can descend and inspect what lies beneath, research into the depths, evaluation of the vast reservoir of nature. The science of oceanography now driving forward faster than ever before because of the needs of defense. Science made Jules Verne's Nautilus a reality only to make her a menace. Now science must find new means to seek out Nautilus in her ocean element. And having found her, then, if need be, destroy her. The Atlantic is a vital ocean. Over these waters voyaged every adventurer, every trader, every emigrant who helped forge the links between an old world and a new. Over these waters, the old states of Europe begat the new of North America. Over them has been created the whole of Western civilization. At the Atlantic headquarters at Norfolk, Virginia, fly the flags of the 15 nations of the Atlantic Alliance, a name itself significant of the importance of the Western Ocean. Its defense is the responsibility of the Supreme Allied Commander Atlantic, an American admiral who at the same time is Commander-in-Chief of the United States Atlantic Fleet. The area of his NATO duties covers a great sweep of the Northern Hemisphere. Stretching north from the Tropic of Cancer, its limits to the west take in the whole Atlantic seaboard of the United States. Then beyond New York and New England, the coast of Canada, from Nova Scotia and Newfoundland to Labrador and on. Then he must watch the old battlegrounds of the north and east, the seas off Iceland, Greenland, Norway, and the western approaches to the British Isles, the North Sea, the Channel, and the Bay of Biscay. Further south, the Straits of Gibraltar and the Azores. Yet to defend all this vast area, SACLANT, as he's called, controls no other forces in peacetime than his own United States Atlantic Fleet. Cooperating are the forces of 6 other nations, which, should war come, would be placed at his disposal. The potential shield, all the resources of such United States bases as Norfolk, Key West, and New London. Then ships and men of America's allies, from Halifax, the Clyde and the Mersey, from North Sea ports, from Cherbourg, Brest, and Lisbon. From 100 harbors issue the craft SACLANT can call upon to defend the North Atlantic. But as well as the shield, there must too be a spear for retaliation. The Allied Command Striking Fleet, a mobile, elusive airfield complex at sea, and therefore dispersed against any atomic attack. Its hitting power is the carrier, a hornet's nest, ready for any kind of task from brush fires to nuclear wars. Its decks the stage for the strangest, steam-clouded ballet of modern times. Protecting the strike force are its own aircraft and its own swarm of anti-sub and anti-aircraft ships, sweeping the sea and sky with their powerful radar, ready at all times to deal out destruction to any enemy seeking to break through to the carrier. Thus protected, the striking fleet could deliver round-the-clock raids as heavy as all the bombing raids of World War II put together. A sobering thought. But then, to deter, any deterrent must be sobering. And none more so than the most powerful deterrent of all. Nuclear-powered submarines, able to remain submerged, if need be, for months under the ocean wastes and even under the polar ice. In each, stocks and launching gear for the last word in deterrence. Polaris. Potential destruction beyond belief. So much beyond belief that recourse by any aggressor to more conventional means becomes the more probable, and therefore the more to be prepared for. And in this, the threat of the ocean-going submarine cuts both ways, for the West and against it. A broad red arrow, symbol of the huge hostile submarine forces that could be unleashed should the Cold War turn hot. For the international staff of SACLANT, a nagging preoccupation with potential enemy periscopes. Ever on their minds are the embattled convoys of 2 world wars, braving the North Atlantic to keep whole nations alive. Peering periscopes and unleashed torpedoes. Drowning men and good ships plunging into the depths. Against the submarine menace, SACLANT maintains constant air watch, using such Allied planes as the Canadian Argus, able to carry out a double Atlantic trip without refueling. The Breguet Atlantic, specially designed by NATO for the job. The Royal Air Force Shackleton. Thousands of flying hours over the sea, keeping check on who comes and goes. A broad red arrow. The submarine of 2 world wars was forced to surface every few hours to recharge the batteries which powered it underwater by means of the diesels which powered it above. The snorkel increased the sub's underwater activities 100-fold. Now, by remaining near the surface, it can breathe through the snorkel and rid itself of the exhaust fumes of its diesels. This type of vessel, though not completely underseas, can now be more down than up. But with periscope or snorkel showing, a submarine risks detection at all times. Many miles away, airborne radar screens will register telltale blips. With such devices, an aircraft can keep watch over vast areas of ocean. Shipborne radar, though of much shorter range, is powerfully effective when detecting a periscope nearby. Sub, ships. Sub, ships. But what happens when a sub dives below? Radar is powerless. Ships, and no sub. Underwater, hearing takes the place of seeing. For there, sound travels 5 times faster than it does in air, often for many miles. And so sub-searchers are trained to listen, and by listening, identify in the science of sonar. The propellers of a liner, noises caused by some enterprise on a distant beach, then the noise they must learn by heart and pick out from all other noises, even if put together. By the same means, however, the sub can also listen. Listen to identify and place the vessels that hound it. An audio chess game. And nature has a lesson or two to teach. Friendly dolphins follow a ship. Dumb animals, just listen to them. The basic continuing noise is dolphin conversation, but the clicking superimposed. The dolphin's built-in system for sending out signals to detect obstacles. Imitating the dolphin, men too send out sonar signals and listen to their echoes as they bounce back from fish, the sea bottom, or any submerged object. The time of the echo's return and its character give much information of the distance of the object and what it is. And if ships can listen, so too can aircraft sweeping in from the carrier, which is the center of a submarine hunter-killer group. Down goes a sonar buoy with built-in microphone and antenna. This device can pick up a target and broadcast the fact over many miles. To add to sonar, magnetic detection, by which a sensing device in the tail of the aircraft can register contact with any metal object, even fathoms below. From the same carrier, helicopters, able to hover, can dunk into the sea a sonar ball on a wire. Free from ship's engine noise, this ball is particularly sensitive to underwater sound. If the result of the dunk is negative, the helicopter, like a frustrated fisherman, hauls in his line and departs to try elsewhere. Mother ship for all this activity is the carrier, the headquarters of the hunter-killer group, receiving reports and issuing instructions minute by minute.
Smithtown 3-1, Smithtown 2-9.
On such an exercise, as on the real thing, planes and ships work patiently hour after hour, if need be for days, not to mention the nights. Lighting up the darkness, flares from a Shackleton cooperating with the killer group. Round the clock, sweeping and listening.
Roger, scoop again, sinker, de-arm me in and give me an elapsed time to on top.
Making contact, losing contact. A dozen wild goose chases until...
Bad man, bad man.
Contact. Then the turn of a helicopter. Contact. And this time it is contact held for good. On direction from the carrier, the ships close in. Though somebody down there has used all his skill to elude. Now at last for him, the sands are running out. Short of air, he rises. That friendly sub, who for days has played the mouse, so that the cat can practice on him. Such is the effort and skill expended by men and machines, not only to be prepared for war, but also to police in peacetime. We depend upon this Atlantic for our very existence, but we do not own it. All are free to use it, none must misuse it. If others sail subs in the Atlantic, we have a right to know. Indeed, we must know where they are and why. Now, there are not only many more conventional subs than ever before, but they will be followed by atomic-powered vessels, capable of staying submerged for months. And when they dive, how will we find them? For where they go and why, we must know. The vital ocean. To detect the submarine without being plagued by countless false contacts, it is necessary to understand fully the submarine's environment. Any great breakthrough in anti-submarine warfare must await the results of long overdue basic oceanographic research. The Maria Paolina is a vessel similar to many others in that she's engaged in probing the depths. From her decks go down the containers to take thousands of samples of seawater at all depths. From below arrive countless samples from the ocean bed, its rock, its sand, its primeval slime. Cameras slide down to record the life which for so long has remained unseen. But amid all the routine work, the Maria Paolina is a ship with a difference. As well as all the standard ocean probing equipment, she carries and brings into play many devices, techniques, and contraptions all her own. In the waters around her resound strange noises, echoes, and reverberations. Around her, the fish suffer crash after crash of explosive. Unlike many research ships, the team of technicians she carries is international. For the Maria Paolina bears the emblem of NATO, and when she drops anchor at her base, it is at La Spezia in Italy. For there is the Anti-Submarine Research Center, operating under the many flags of SACLANT. Here is no romantic conception of a research laboratory. Stacked everywhere like surrealist art are the things made and meant to force secrets from the sea. If what is wanted does not exist, it comes into being with the aid of tins or the child's erector set. Such things as these to react to every whim of the ocean currents. Their findings to be registered on a tape recorder, working alone and unattended in the solitary sea. A workshop with very definite objectives. For here they carry out a program that must never be allowed to flag or falter, because on it may depend the peace and security of millions. Some are designers and builders, others technicians and thinkers, scientists recruited from a dozen countries, experts in oceanography and electronics, as well as all the techniques of warfare of the sea. People in a world of their own, yet one which knows no differences of nationality, only the natural differences, which are always there when men get together to find the best way to accomplish a common task.
There must be something wrong with these visions.
Oh, what's wrong is that real signals are never confined to having only to being segments, to being identically.
Here no sudden breakthrough is expected, only patient slogging in facts and figures. fed into computers which add, subtract, multiply, and classify, or even draw you a picture, if that's the way it is wanted. The ever-building picture of the story of the ocean, the mapping of every mile of the sea bottom and its geological structure. The pattern of the unseen, from the Straits of Gibraltar and its bottleneck to the million ridges, basins, and submerged mountains of the Western Ocean. All this, the sub's environment. All this, then, to be known and understood. In parallel with the understanding, direct application in the development of sound, in the detection of submarines, the turning of hit and miss into a sure sense of touch. When the signal is distorted, bent, or reflected by salt or thermal differences, how can allowance be made without error? Given the blind area caused in such circumstances, can we get it in best by bouncing the signals off the bottom? How can a convoy be maintained with the minimum number of escorts? In 2 world wars, experience was dearly won. But today, mathematics develops without bloodshed. Always the staff of La Spezia works to the sailors and airmen who must turn their ideas into realities. In SACLANT and its sub-commands on both sides of the Atlantic, all knowledge is pooled. To the seek of La Spezia, the Navy adds find, fix, and strike. Every submariner fears the rumble and crash of depth charges, the resultant pressure waves that crush and let in the drowning sea. Now the old hit and miss of rolling over the stern gives way to precise pattern depth charging. In seconds, new devices can hand out destruction in all directions, making hell for a sub, anywhere before, abeam, and aft. Then the depth charge, which is a missile, roaring into space to seek its distant target electronically. Then the anti-submarine, able to follow the foe and attack him in his own element. Fired from such a sub, a missile. Rising from the depths, shedding its first stages, climbing on, and then descending in a vast arc. Then, after its dive, finding the target by its own electronic brain. So they can be destroyed, if they can be found. A fishing rod, but not to catch fish, or even submarines at this point. A fishing rod to float thermometers. Nothing can remain hidden forever. Ploddingly, methodically, the scientist goes about tracking it down, all the time adding new pictures of the behavior of things, developing whole new sciences, which in turn may lead to techniques. When a self-propelled body moves underwater, just what happens and why? Even in a tiny glass tank is to be found that very same truth that lies out there in the whole wide sweep of the Atlantic. A million cargoes. On any day of any year, there are 3,000 ships at sea in the North Atlantic. On them depend not only trade and prosperity, but also the very freedom of the West. Each year, ships of the NATO nations meet on common exercises in the Atlantic, testing their combined strength should it ever be needed. Ships built and sailed by men of different nations, different points of view. And such are the rules that no one who disagrees can be coerced. Differences there are and will be, but because of a common cause, all merge into a great international pattern of men and tasks. On board a U.S. carrier, planes of the Royal Navy are side by side with their American counterparts. A friendly visit brings out interest from both sailors and airmen. So that's how you do it. Well, ain't that something? How different we are, yet so very much alike. But then we all have the same things in view.
Coming up on next minus 1 minute.
Sorry?
Shepperton Head.
Yes, the Shepperton had a comment at 2 minutes ago.
Men and tasks, staying power, patience, and with it, not a little courage, for needs must when the devil drives. But let us hope that soon all this tension may be relaxed, and soon all this talent, all this courage, all this cooperation can be turned to other tasks. For making perhaps countless voyages of 20,000 leagues under the sea, for the benefit of all mankind.
That daughter doesn't mean anything, you see. If you say now, I know the coefficients, then I agree with you, but I say you don't know the coefficients.
What you're not saying, Theo, is that this cannot be just any old curve.
Oh, no, of course. It should be piece of a third order.
It has to be a piece, right? It has to be a piece of a third order.
Otherwise you give me wrong things.
That being the case, then...
Look at that equation there. F(x) is A0, and you don't give me A0, but you give me 4 values of Fx. Then I can make 4 values. 4 equations. There's 4 unknowns I can solve. And then it's for... And you can see practically...
It's not practically,
I didn't want to stay theoretical.